The House will come to order. Report from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration.
Long from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration, pursuant to Rules 1.21 and 3.33, designates the following bill to be placed on the calendar for the day for Thursday, May 15, 2025, and establishes the pre-filing requirement for amendments offered to the following bill, House File Number 2464.
Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file herewith returned. House File Number 1090, an act relating to capital investment, renaming the Library Construction Grant Program. The message is signed Thomas S. Boddard, Secretary of the Senate.
Calendar for the day. The first bill on the calendar for today is House File 475. The clerk will report the bill.
House File Number 475. Number 2 on the calendar for the day, a memorial resolution requesting the Joint Committee of the Library of Congress to approve replacement of the statue of Henry Mower Rice, now on display in the National Statuary Hall in the Capitol. The first engrossment.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, the author of the bill, Representative Long, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Each state is allowed to send 2 statues to Congress to represent them. Minnesota's current 2 statues are Maria Sanford, which was installed in 1958, and Henry Mower Rice, installed in 1916. Like Minnesota, many states have chosen to submit 1 civic leader and 1 political leader. Many states have also recently chosen to update the statues that represent them. For example, Kansas has sent Amelia Earhart and Dwight Eisenhower, whose statue was sent in 2003, and Arizona has sent Eusebio Kino and Barry Goldwater, who was swapped in 2015. So maybe I'll save the rest of my remarks for third reading, but would encourage member support of the bill.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 475.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Coulter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Long, for bringing this bill. Hubert Humphrey is a hero of mine. I don't imagine it surprises many people that I would identify with a Minnesota liberal who's known for talking too much, or that I would find commonality with someone who once said that compassion is not weakness and concern for the unfortunate is not socialism. But where I find that I take more and more inspiration from Hubert Humphrey these days, having read his memoirs multiple times and having a campaign poster of his in my office at home, is his dedication to doing the work of making things better and to working in good faith with anyone who will do the same. One of my favorite stories about Humphrey is that after he gave his final speech to a joint session of Congress, the first person that he embraced was Barry Goldwater, which those of you who understand that pairing might be a little bit surprised by. He certainly was not shy about his values, but he also wasn't shy about bringing people on board in any way he could to improve people's lives. And in times like these, and quite frankly, especially in places like this, Hubert Humphrey reminds us that the politics of joy doesn't mean ignoring the realities of life and the darkness and the hate and the just general awfulness that comes with that, but to embrace the joy of doing the work to help our neighbors who need it most. And I want to close with this quote that I actually read directly from his memoir last time I gave this speech. I have enjoyed my life, its disappointments outweighed by its pleasures. I have loved my country in a way that some people consider sentimental and out of style. I still do, and I remain an optimist with joy, without apology, for the American experiment in democracy. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Martin, Representative Olson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I rise in opposition to this resolution today, and I'll tell you why. I've spent a lot of my life going to historical museums, battlefields, areas in which you see statues readily. And I have a master's in history, and I go to these battlefields and I see statues and I don't know who these people are. I don't. But what I do regularly see is an identifier that says what state said individual was from. So you could see a statue at Gettysburg, and it says Minnesota. It says the first Minnesota on it. And what I know from that is I receive immense pride knowing that my state did something great on that day on that battlefield. So what I'm telling you here is this all depends on how Minnesota can be identified by others around the United States and around the world. So currently, we have 2 statues in the U.S. Capitol. Every other state gets 2 statues. And what matters is the placement of that statue, where that statue is located. No person outside of Minnesota without a history background is going to know who these people are. They're going to know what state that is. And the best Minnesota can project its influence upon our nation and upon our world, the better for us here in Minnesota. People around the world should know the great things that we have done. They should be able to see our statues, and they should be able to know that Minnesota has had a valiant place in history, and we are participating factors in a great nation. And that is why it's so important that we do not move Minnesota's statue at the U.S. Capitol today. And the reason for that being is that when you provide a resolution to Congress saying you would like to replace your statue, that allows Capitol administration the opportunity to shuffle the deck, to take that statue away from its prominent place where Minnesota is currently at in Statuary Hall, and they can put a different statue from a different state there. And they can regulate us to any place that they desire. Capitol administration then has the opportunity to put our new statue anywhere that they desire. We could find ourselves relegated to the water closet. We could have the Hubert H. Humphrey bathroom. There are states in our capital, there are state statues in our capital that are in hallways, that are behind curtains, that are behind other statues. Minnesota's currently is located, this statue that we are talking about removing today is in Statuary Hall, the prominent place where all the other statues are, where people and visitors go and they say, wow, look at this amazing room. For those of you who don't know, Statuary Hall used to be where the U.S. House of Representatives convened until they got 435 members and didn't have enough room for all the desks. And so in that hall, where you see statues all along the wall, with people's names who even I don't recognize, but then it says at the bottom the state that I absolutely recognize. Oh, there's that state. Oh, that's there. There. Minnesota's right there. In Statuary Hall, they have plaques on the ground. And on those plaques it states, this is where a president sat with their desk when they were in the U.S. House of Representatives. Minnesota's statue, this current statue, is located in the former U.S. House of Representatives, and it's a stone's throw away from Abraham Lincoln's desk, a stone's throw away from James Buchanan. All the presidents who had previously been a member of the U.S. House of Representatives who sat on that floor, our statue is a stone's throw away. And when people come to our U.S. Capitol, they don't wander the halls looking for random state statues unless they're looking for their own state statue. Let's not relegate Minnesota's statue to the water closet. Let's not give Capitol administration the ability to shuffle the deck and remove us from our prominent place on the former U.S. House of Representatives floor. Let's not remove our state statue from Statuary Hall. Let's leave it where it is. And let's ensure that everyone who goes to visit the U.S. Capitol understands that Minnesota plays a prominent and distinct part in our country's history and our future. Minnesota's important. Let's not risk moving to a different place behind a curtain, in a bathroom, or in a random hallway. It is too important for us to project our influence. When people from outside of our state go there, they're not going to know who Hubert Humphrey is. Let's be real. Most of us can't even name 10 vice presidents. Even if you have a master's in history, you can't name every vice president that we've ever had. But you can name the 50 states. And we know that there are not 50 states in that hall. There are a couple of them, and Minnesota's one of them. Let's not risk removing ourselves from that place of prominence. Do not pass this resolution to replace Minnesota's statue in the Capitol. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Further discussion to the bill. I recognize the member from Goodhue, Representative Allen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of this bill and would like to thank Representative Long for bringing this forward. Just as a little bit of a history lesson, it's specifically about what Hubert Humphrey did, which I really admire him for, was in 1964, he was able to get the Civil Rights Act passed out of the Senate. Now, at the time, he was dealing with an obstructionist Southern Democrat caucus that was doing everything they could to stop it. And in a brilliant move, he reached out to another individual by the name of Senator Everett Dirksen. If you've been to Washington, D.C., there's a building out there, the Dirksen Building, and hence named after him. And that senator, who is also a former University of Minnesota law student, worked bipartisanly with him in order to be able to get the Civil Rights Act passed of 1964. And ironically enough, at the very same time, another Rice County native by the name of Al Quee, at the time Congressman Quee, was there on the floor doing everything he could in order to be able to pass it on the House side. He was quoted as saying, it was the right thing to do. Now, talking to my county and the administrator there, they're excited to be able to get the statue of Henry Mower Rice back. It's going to be displayed in a location, or their courthouse in a prominent location, and I would urge the members a green vote in honor of Al Quee and what he said, because it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Douglas, Representative Franson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I'm not sure why we're debating this topic. We are a week away from adjournment. We still have no joint budget targets. We have no deal on education yet. There's no deal on Minnesota Care yet, and we are discussing on replacing a statute in DC. So at any rate, we have some issues here in Minnesota that we need to take care of. And I think we should worry about our budget first. As you know, if we don't have a budget, we can't get a bonding bill. And so, members, I think we should vote this resolution down and get to the business at hand. Thank you.
Further discussion to the bill. I recognize the author, Representative Long.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So Mr. Mower Rice was an early leader in helping facilitate statehood. He was a Democrat. He served as one of Minnesota's first U.S. senators, but his statue was put there in 1916, and more than a century of Minnesota history has transpired since then, and Minnesotans have accomplished quite a lot on the national stage since then. I believe it's indisputable that the Minnesotan who had the greatest impact, as we've heard from others before me, was Hubert Humphrey. The Happy Warrior, Humphrey was vice president from 1965 to 1969, and was a Democratic standard bearer for president in 1968. He served for 23 years in the U.S. Senate, including as majority whip. His legislative accomplishments included authoring the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and serving as the floor manager for its passage. He proposed the Peace Corps, Medicare, and the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. And he always sought bipartisanship for his legislative goals, and often his biggest antagonists were in his own party, particularly on civil rights. The resolution today acknowledges the bipartisan nature of his work with a reference to Senator Dirksen, who was mentioned previously. Humphrey first made his mark on the national stage when he attended as mayor of Minneapolis in 1948 Democratic National Convention, saying famously to the delegates on behalf of a civil rights plank, "To those who say we are rushing the issue of civil rights, I say we are 172 years too late. To those who say the civil rights program is an infringement on states' rights, I say this: the time has arrived in America for the Democratic Party to get out of the shadow of states' rights and walk forthrightly into the bright sunshine of human rights. Many delegates did walk out, but not in the reason he meant, and that led to a split in the party with the creation of the Dixiecrats. The process to change a statute is that we do have to pass a resolution, which is what we have before us today, to go to the architect of the Capitol and notify them of our state's interest in replacing our statute. We also would be paying in this in a later bill or raising money in a later bill, potentially in the state government bill, for the Mower Rice statue to be returned to its namesake in Rice County. And I want to thank Representative Allen for working with Rice County and me on that. I also want to thank the bipartisan co-authors of the bill, including Representatives Niska, Myers, Davids, and Anderson, PH. In terms of the statue location, for those who have visited the Statuary Hall, there's not just a couple statues in there, there are 20 that are packed in tight. And this statue is, in fact, behind two other statues in the furthest back corner of Statuary Hall. That is not the prime location for statues to be displayed in Congress. The prime location is in the dome of the Capitol, or in the Visitor Center, which is where our second statue is displayed and where a lot of the more notable statues are being displayed. And for those who are concerned about the statue location, I can assure you that nobody's putting Hubert Humphrey in a corner, and that a former vice president is going to have a place of honor. There are no vice presidents currently in Statuary Hall. So Minnesota will have, I think, the honor of being placed in a prominent location where we can be proud of the legacy of civil rights that I think Hubert Humphrey embodied, and I think represents the Minnesota traditions that we know and love. So I believe it's time to update our important statue. Hasn't happened since 1916, and I would encourage a yes vote. Thank you.
There being no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. Members, please vote. The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Hussein.
Hussein, aye.
Hussein votes aye. Reem.
Go ahead, Lucy.
Reem, yes.
Reem votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 85 ayes and 44 nays, the motion is passed. The bill is passed and its title is agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for today is House File 2437. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 2437, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to taxation, the second engrossment.
I recognize Representative Niska.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that House File 2437 be laid on the table.
Representative Niska moves that House File 2437 be laid on the table. Members, this is a non-debatable motion. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. No. The motion carries and the bill is laid on the table. Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there is no objection, we will take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail. Announcements. Representative Scraba, the representative from St. Louis, Representative Scraba.
Having a hard time with that name this week. Thank you, Madam
I was
Chair.
trying to see your county, Representative Scraba.
They called me last night making fun of that. That's good. The reason I stand is I just want everyone to know about the fires in northern Minnesota. I spoke about it yesterday on the floor. We had fires of 300 acres, 1,200 acres, and 1,500 acres. And right now they're 12,000 acres, 1,500 acres, and 10,000 acres. So it's, there is an incident command up there. There are evacuations. So everyone is working due diligent to what they're doing, and we're monitoring it. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. If it doesn't, we just, all the aerial, if you're a aviation nut, go up there and you'll see all kinds of helicopters and airplanes and everything they can keep this fires and thing. And I just wanted to let everyone know that we're working on it, and hopefully it'll, our state, the federal, spoke with the federal government this morning. They're monitoring it. They got people, they got everything there. So it's all coming together. The incident command works. And thank you for the time, Madam Chair.
Further announcements. Representative Niska.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 11 a.m. Wednesday, May 14, 2025.
Representative Niska moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 11 a.m. Wednesday, May 14th, 2025. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion prevails. Representative Niska.
I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Niska moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion prevails, and the House stands adjourned until 11 a.m. Wednesday, May 14th, 2025.